Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 105.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
Hey guys, welcome one more time to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad to be here. I'm hoping that you are just as glad because sometimes you just never know. I mean, you're listening to the podcast and you're hoping that, man, I hope there's something for me in this one. And then you get to the end and you're like, nope, not that time. Well, here's what I'm going to say. On this particular episode, because of the guest that's here and because of the impact that he has already had on my life in a very short period of time, I'm going to make a promise. You will not be different by the time you finish this particular episode. In fact, I'm going to tell you to go grab your notepad, go grab your pen, because there's going to be something that you hear. You're going to get at least one good idea, like we're always looking for and listening for, so that you can go out there and become a bigger, better, badder investor. And I'm excited for you in this particular case. So what we've got to do today is you've got to understand that sometimes what we're after is something that's super great, something that's beyond ourselves. And to be able to get to that place that's beyond ourselves, sometimes, you've heard me say it before, I say it again, you will not out-earn your personal growth. The individual today has been out there for quite some time, helping people become bigger versions of themselves. And most importantly, he's one of the individuals who's a great example of the basic building blocks, not only just in fitness, but in personal development and what it's going to take for you to become the person you know you should be. So if you don't already know his name, help me welcome Mr. Craig Ballantyne. Craig, you there?
Hey, thanks for having me, Jay. Really great to talk to you again.
I'm definitely glad that we've been able to catch up one more time. And I got to say, man, it was fun meeting you with Simon out there at the entrepreneurship camp. And I have never, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I was like, wow, I've never met anyone. And I grew up around military individuals. So keep this in mind when I say I've never met anyone more disciplined than you.
But I appreciate that. I mean, I actually take it as a compliment, and it's really helped. And, going back to what you said there about living, we live in my life, I live by what I call extreme example. I don't expect people to do exactly what I do, certainly not. But if I live by extreme example, it inspires people to do a little bit. And I think everybody listening to this call can appreciate that and probably recognizes that in themselves, that, they're out there doing good, and people around them see it, and, it influences others to step it up. So that's what we're all about in my business, whether it's fitness or the personal development at Early to Rise.
Nice. I appreciate that. And for those of you who don't know you, one of the things that I want to do is I want to make sure that we cover from the beginning, because I've said this before and I say it again. I think today's entrepreneurs who are out there in the world are like yesterday's superheroes. You got Batman, Superman. We save people from all kinds of dangers, be that financial, health, or mental, or whatever. But that's what we do. And each superhero, before they started, had a beginning. They had sometimes a different name, alter ego. They were just someone that we would not recognize before. So what we want to know is, before you were, over there at Early to Rise, before you were out there, producing quality content online, before you were the fitness guy you are today and known as, Mr. Discipline. I don't know if there should be a title or world championships for that. Before all that happened, who was Craig Ballantyne?
Well, I'll tell you the name that the Dos Equis guy is the most interesting man in the world. I actually claim to be the most disciplined man in the world. Somebody said that about me, so that's my little tagline. But going way back in time, I was just a young, ambitious person, like I'm sure everyone listening to this call certainly was. When they got done college, they really wanted to make an impact. And, my story actually goes all the way back to when I was 4 years old and I was riding home from town. I grew up on a farm outside this city, actually the city where Justin Bieber is from, if you can believe it or not.
We won't hold that against you.
Yeah, I know. It's not my fault. So anyways, I grew up outside the city, Stratford, Ontario, here in Canada. And my mom was giving me a ride home. We were driving in this big old green car. And you can imagine back in 1979, there was no seat belts, and I was riding in the front seat, but I could tell that she was really upset by something. And, I looked at her and I said, Mom, what's wrong? And she said, oh, I was just at my Weight Watchers meeting and, it didn't go well, or I didn't lose any weight. And as parents and as adults, we have to be very careful about what we say to our children because, offhand comments like that. And she was just answering my question. I mean, that really made an impact on me, but, more so seeing the frustration in her face. And if that was the reason, that drove me to help people transform their lives. And the thing that I knew best and the thing that I had the most passion for going through in high school was exercise. And so we built these transformation contests, and we've helped thousands of people all over the world lose a lot of weight and change their lives. And, a lot of people have actually who were just average folks, and I just say average, I don't mean that, in any bad way. I just mean they were workers in the corporate world. They've gone on to actually become personal trainers in my methods, turbulence training. They're certified turbulence training after winning my contest. And now they have their own studios and they change people's lives, and it's really fantastic. So, I was just an ambitious kid who wanted to help people, and that on to today, we have this mission in our business called the 10 Million Transformation Mission. And if you've ever shared any of the photos of the group of instructors of us from Blacksmith Camp, I'm wearing a 10 Million Mission T-shirt, and we want to help 10 million people physically, financially, and emotionally before 2020. So that's where I was before, just on this journey to help people, and that's where I am today.
Nice. Now, there's so much that's packed in that. How do you, because I know for some people, myself included, you wake up one day, you're just a kid, you're growing up, and then all of a sudden you go from this consumer to a producer. Where did you get the confidence? If you're growing up on a farm, how do you go from farm to, I can help people, I can transform them, and I'm the guy that can do it?
That's a really great question. And there was a couple of events that were real turning points in my life. So when I grew up, coming from Canada, what I actually wanted to do was become a strength and conditioning coach in the National Hockey League because I found out very quickly
I was not going to be able to.
I was not going to be able to play in the National Hockey League, so I had to get there some other way. So I wanted to be a strength coach, and that's what I went to college for.
Nice.
And when I was in college in 1998, I stumbled across this website. It was my last year of college, and they were putting training articles on the internet, and something inside me just said, hey, if these guys can do this, so can I, because I was very passionate about training and lifting weights and stuff. And so I just started my own email newsletter way back in 1999, and I was sending it out manually. That means, not using a service like Aweber, Constant Contact, that people use today. And that's when I started writing. And then in 2000, there was another big breakthrough for me where I was looking for jobs because I was just finishing up my master's degree. And I found a email address of Men's Health fitness editor, Lou Schuler, who's a great friend of mine. And I just sent him one of my newsletters, and he put it in the magazine in 2000. And so that was a huge turning point. That was when I went from being focused on sports training to being focused on helping the readers of Men's Health, the readers of Women's Health, the readers of Shape Magazine, Prevention Magazine, these dozens of other magazines that I've written for since, because I just got such, a real buzz from helping people and getting people emailing me and saying thank you. And I realized I could just help way more people this way. And that's when all this transformation stuff kicked in, and, it led me to where I am today.
Gotcha. Now, I've got a really serious question here. I know you're from Canada, but is it really a requirement? Like, do you have to like hockey? Because everyone brings it up all the time.
It's definitely a requirement, but it's just something that, especially I grew up in that little small town, and it's something you just don't have a whole lot to do. So, especially in the wintertime. So, I mean, I love that game, playing it more than watching it. And, it's some of the best memories of my life, especially as a kid, we're playing that game.
That's funny. It seems to be consistent throughout most Canadians that I've run into. There's a connection to it. I guess you just have to grow up with it. Now, let me ask this. You talk about, helping people. Would you say that that's one of the core components necessary for any entrepreneur in order to have a successful business, to get you called it, I think you said, a buzz from helping people, with something that you're passionate about?
I think so. I think you need to have this buzz in problem solving. So, I mean, you could even take a look at a programmer, a computer programmer, and they get a buzz out of solving these problems that, maybe they get more of a buzz out of solving the problem as opposed to, the end helping of somebody. But generally, entrepreneurs are going to be problem solvers one way or another. And for me, I just have this irrational drive to help people that I've never, ever met before. And we just hit 200,000 fans on our Facebook page. And I just love going on there. I go on there once a day for like 10 minutes and read the comments. And I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you're experiencing this right now with your podcast. You have no idea how many people you're helping. And the people that are out there in the cash flow world helping people, whether they're buying houses or, even you're renting a house to somebody, you don't understand the impact that you're making on these people. It's a huge, huge service, and you're helping people that you don't know. And, it might be that they've finally found a home in a great neighborhood and their kids can go to a great school. And the tough thing is that we'll only hear from 1 in 10,000 people that has a great response. And the thing that I don't want anybody to get hung up on is when you hear that 1 in a million negative response from somebody, because we all have critics. There's even websites devoted to hating on Mother Teresa, believe it or not. So if she can get critics, you will too. And don't let that stop you, because at the end of the day, going all the way back to your original question, yes, you are going to succeed so well in life when you help people and you just add value to the world.
Now, what I find interesting, and I hope everyone caught it. There was 1 in 10,000 who give you something positive to say, and then I think you said 1 in a million or 1 in 100,000. So there was less, even though there's still that one that's out there that was negative. There was still less of them. So make sure you catch that math, because that was definitely important. But you also said something that I thought that I know personally to be true. You said you go on Facebook once a day for 10 minutes. Now, knowing you, that requires structure, that requires discipline. And I have seen you do this, and I'm just like, wow, how on earth? Because I'm sure many people right now would love to be able to restrict their Facebook time to just 10 minutes and only once a day. So talk to us, if you will, a little bit about having more structure.
Yeah, there's something that I call the more structure in your day, the more freedom you will have in your life. And it's a paradox, because as soon as you say structure, people, they don't want to think about rules and rigidity. But the more rules that you have for your life, the better off you will be. For example, when I didn't have rules in my life, and I only have 12 of them, and I've written an article about it on my website, but one of them is I don't check my email until after lunchtime. And, when I didn't have rules in place, I was checking my email as soon as I woke up, like a lot of people do. And all it takes is that 1 in 1 million negative email that shows up that can ruin your day. And so you got to keep that junk out of your life. And so it can send you down rabbit holes of looking at YouTube videos and that sort of stuff. And so I have that rule in place. And I have, this one's not written down, but it's in my personal, in my mind anyways, is that I only am allowed to go on Facebook for a short amount of time once a day for business purposes. I don't even use it for personal purposes. And I just know that we all have to know what the priorities in our life are, because we all feel like we are running out of time, and we all are. But it's often because of the choices that we make. And so one of the things that I have written down on my, I have it on a Word document, which is where I keep my to-do list. And then one of the things I write down first thing on my paper to-do list every day is right decisions. What are the right decisions for your life? And the more of the right decisions you can make, and you know what they are, the better off you're going to be. And so going back to the structure that you need to have in your life, I'm a big fan of scripting your day and even scripting out your week in advance so that you know what to do in the certain time blocks, you know how long you have devoted to certain activities, so that you don't end up at 5 o'clock at the end of the day saying, where did the time go? I didn't get anything done. So, one or two other things to say about that is make sure that you work on your number one priority first thing in the morning, because your day is won in the morning. You have to win your day first thing in the morning, because if you do that, then you'll have this feeling of satisfaction. And there's something that powers motivation and momentum in life, and that is the feeling of progress. And there's research done on employees that show if they can see a sense of progress in their work, they're going to be happier, more motivated, and better employees. And it's something very important for me to help with my team members. And, if you're in a work company where everything's going wrong and no one has this sense of progress, that's the American way of saying progress, which is what I say progress. I notice that's one of the Canadian tells about my language. But people see that there's progress being made, they're going to be motivated. If they don't feel there's any progress being made and there's no communication about the progress being made, they will be demotivated. And so going all the way back to structure, you need that in your life, because that will allow you at 5 o'clock to be able to shut the computer down or shut the books down that you're working on and go and have family time. So structure in your day, win the morning, and have the freedom in your life to do what you want after hours.
When you shared that with me when we were in Lithuania, I just gotta tell some people here. One of the reasons that you had the effect you had on me is because you said something, and I want you to share this with them. You said something specific as it relates to parents and structure and how that could possibly affect the relationships with their children. Would you share with us that information one more time?
Well, I will try to remember exactly what it was, because I do say a lot of things. But one of my arguments is, you can open up another email from strangers, you can read another email newsletter, but if you do that and it's not really something that matters in your life, you have to realize that you're stealing that minute from your child. And, when I say that to people, that's when they finally kind of get it most of the time, because, if you're getting home late and you're missing dinner with your kids, and you take a look at your workday and it was not structured and it was random and you were jumping here and there and all over the place and you weren't getting your priorities done because you didn't win your morning, then you lose your evenings and your time with your family. And that's the cause of so much frustration in life. And I really believe that if you can get dialed in at work, again, more structure, you have that freedom to go home and spend time with your kids, and that's what life is all about.
Well, I'm here to testify, if nothing else, that was the statements that you said that I didn't just hear you, it arrested my attention. I mean, I was stopped right there in mid-track, and I was like, okay, if it made sense, but I'm also that same person, guys. I want all of you to know that I'm that same person that resists structure to the 12th degree, because it feels like it's the antithesis of my freedom. And when you threaten my freedom, boy, do the gloves come off and I just start swinging. And I've got to also share the progress that has happened since then, is that in implementing more structure, I can say for the first time, maybe it was last week or the week before, because I was telling the team, it was the first time I felt like I had a complete day and I could completely unplug, even though I was still at home, and be present to, my family and my kids in a way, knowing that, hey, I can get back to it tomorrow. It's not going to fall apart. and I had some structure and I knew what was going on when, etc. So I want everybody to know that if they see changes like that in me, it started with you, and I just want to make sure that I say thank you one more time.
Hey, happy to help. You gave me lots of great advice on the other way around too. So thank you, sir.
So now you have this thing about 5 minutes. Help me understand a little bit more, because right now when here's what I know. I know when I think about structure and I thinking about time and I thinking about all these things, I start going, oh my God, this is going to take forever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to think that they got to make these huge changes in their life, because we all know that, when you try and do things, make dramatic changes, it's very difficult to stick with it. So all I want people to do is start with 5 minutes tomorrow morning, getting up 5 minutes earlier, because as you know, as soon as everybody else gets up, the day can kind of start being taken away from you. So if you get up 5 minutes earlier, there's 3 things that you can do. So, eventually I'd like to see everybody getting up 15 minutes earlier and spending 5 minutes in what I call big thinking. And that is just, have at it with a piece of paper and a pen. Don't edit yourself at all. Just write down your 10 big ideas that, could be 10 ideas for like where you can find a great deal in a house. It might be 10 vacations you want to go on. It might be 10, second incomes. It could be 10 ways to do better with your investing. Every day is something different and just 10 big ideas. And I must give credit to my friend James Altucher, who showed this to me first. But I do this every morning, 10 big ideas, and just let your mind go. And, you'll really feel like, maybe 1 in 100 is something that you can act on, but getting those ideas out there is really, really important. Now, the second way to spend 5 minutes in the morning is going over the plan for your day. Everyone should plan tomorrow, tonight, but in the first thing in the morning, it's very helpful to go over, look at your schedule, and just, reiterate what you need to get done. And then the third way to spend 5 minutes in the morning is in gratitude and reflection for what you achieved yesterday and who's in your life and all the great things that we have to be grateful for. I mean, anybody listening to this call is in a great place. I mean, you're in a better place now than a king was 150 years ago. So, people need to have perspective on that. And again, it goes back to that research showing that if we can see some achievements in our life and also have gratitude for what we have, we're going to be more content and fulfilled, and also have that momentum and motivation to keep going every day when there's dips in the road, which we all will have.
Yes, dips. Some people call those cave or cliffs, but yeah, I hear you. We'll call them dips for now. So when you say plan tomorrow, tonight, you also said earlier something about scripting your day and the week. Is that the same thing?
Yes, definitely. So, someone should know, what they do with their time in a day. So if they're not sure right now, the very first thing to do is actually a time log where they would write down every 15-minute blocks from, let's say they work from 8 till 5, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. And then you write down, what are you doing at that time? And then you'll see where you struggle with your time management, where you are most creative and productive. And I call that your magic time. I believe that everybody has a 2-hour block in the day when they're 3 times more productive than at any other time in the day. And when people recognize that and they're able to block that 2-hour time off for really important projects, that's when you're going to be able to make huge, huge progress in your life. So look for your magic time. And then once you've figured out where you are weak, you're going to come up with some solutions for the obstacles. You're going to eliminate the temptations that get you off track. And it may mean that you need to get an internet blocker, like Internet Freedom. That's a program that stops you from going on websites. So, if you need to be doing sales calls from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and you find yourself on ESPN.com, try and download one of those free internet blockers that keeps you off certain websites or all of the websites. And then have your day scheduled. So, from 8 till 9, I'm going to be in this meeting. And the meeting doesn't run a minute past 9. That's another thing that people with to-do lists, that's where they mess up. They have these to-do lists of all these things they want to get done, but they don't schedule the exact amount of time for completion for it, and it's something that should only be given an hour. It takes 3 hours, and the next thing you know, everything's behind, and they're working till 8 o'clock at night. So you need to be realistic, and you need to have cutoff times, and those deadlines will force you to take faster action and get things done. And then the more you can actually plan out every day of your week, the better off you're going to be. You're just going to feel, again, like you felt the other day, that you won your day, that you're able to say, okay, I'm done. I don't have to, check my email 18 times before 9 o'clock at night tonight. I can go. I don't need to do any reports. It's done. It's family time. I'm going to Jimmy's ball game, and I'm actually not taking the phone. I'm going to sit there and watch the game for once.
It's funny. It's like you had a head over my shoulder on that. It was a very interesting situation because it's been a while since I felt like, well, for me, and it's been more consistent. I mean, first of all, I got my email box to 0, dude. You have no idea. We're talking tens of thousands of emails when you and I first met, down to 0. That's a whole nother story. And then knowing what I had to do and having the plan laid out was like, wow, is this what this feels like? So it was mentally freeing. For sure. And I'm looking forward to, just continuing to do more and more of these things to make that happen. When we were in Lithuania, you were mentioning about pillars, things that that are the basic building blocks, so to speak, if you will, for us to begin to make these shifts. I think it would be a great disservice to everyone if they did not hear what they are and how they might be able to best implement those.
Are you tired of letting good cash flow generating ideas go to waste? Go to cashflowdiary.com/ready to apply for a complimentary, yes, that means free, one-on-one breakthrough session. Take action now. Go to cashflowdiary.com/ready. Again, that's cashflowdiary.com/ready. Before we get back to today's episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, your host, Jay Massey, has some important insights to share with you.
Wow. Can you just imagine all the things that are going through? I can only imagine all the things that are going through your head because there are so many things going through my head as I consume this information and just think about it. One of the things that I want to just highlight for you is the value of discipline. And at the end of the day, you may think that you are, but until you are examined up against someone like today's guest, you just go, wow, I'm not disciplined at all. Well, anyway, here's what I'm going to say. Once you're in the habit, stay in the habit. Getting back into the habit can be a challenge. Guys, hear this clearly. I am back to getting up at 4:30. That's been the new hour. So I've been successful for a number of days now in a row. And here's the interesting thing. I feel like I've been getting a whole lot more done, a lot faster, a lot sooner, clearer mind. I don't know. Maybe it actually is something to getting 8 hours of sleep. Enough of me. Let's get back to the interview.
Yeah, I love talking about these 5 pillars, dining and preparation. The second thing you need is professional accountability. And this is different than the third pillar, which I'll mention in a minute, which involves your friends. But professional accountability, there was a study from Stanford that showed people who had professional accountability to a doctor or a nurse or a trainer, they ended up with better results in a weight loss program than if they had accountability just to somebody who wasn't a professional, who didn't have that authority figure. So if you are in the real estate investing world, you need a good mentor. You need somebody who is a professional helping you out. And same with, trainers. They need a good mentor trainer. And people in the fat loss world, they need a good personal trainer to help them. So you need professional accountability. You need accountability of some kind. So if you can't get professional accountability, get some accountability from friends, but definitely try to get professional accountability. Right. The third is social support. You need to find positive people who are going to support your changes. And that is really difficult for a lot of women in our fat loss contests. Their husbands have no interest in switching the food up that they eat. And, it's really frustrating and really sad. It's like they're all married to Homer Simpson and he just wants pork chops and junk food and donuts for dinner every night, and they want to change their lives. And so we realized how important the social support is, and only telling positive people about your goals, because positive people want to help you. And you'll be amazed by complete strangers. You know, if you have a membership site, Jay, I'm not sure if you do, but if you have a community online, you'll be amazed at the support that strangers will give one another when they're all fixated on the same goal. And we found that in our fat loss contest, because offline support is really hard to find sometimes, but you can actually get the same benefits from online social support. So go wherever the positive people are, share your goals. Don't, hold back when you find the right people, because they will go out of your way to help you. And it doesn't even make sense sometimes, because these people, complete strangers who you've never met and probably never will meet halfway around the world, want to see you succeed for some reason, because that's what positive people are about. So get social support. That's the third pillar. The fourth is setting an incentive. And the incentive can either be positive, like I'm going to reward myself with $1,000. In our transformation contest, we pay out a lot of money. I've paid out probably over $200,000 in prizes over the 7 years that we've been doing this. And that's one way of incentivizing yourself, some type of reward. You can also incentivize yourself with some type of punishment, where, there's websites where you can donate money to a charity that, not necessarily a charity, but a political party that you don't like, or a charity that you don't like, or certain things, or you just have to, give the money to friends if you don't meet a certain goal. So you have that incentive to take action. So you need to find a meaningful incentive, whether it's positive or negative. And then finally, the last one, it's so important that I always capitalize it in my articles, and it's called the big deadline. You have to have an end of the road for it. So if you take a look at, our fat loss transformation contests or the P90X programs that you buy on the internet, they succeed because there's an end point to it. And so people have motivation at the start, but it's around, halfway through when they lose that motivation. And if there's no deadline, if there's no end point, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, it's very difficult for people to keep on pushing on when they may have fallen off a cliff or, just have a dip in their days.
Right.
And, we all know that feeling when, it's like, I just want to quit. But if there's a deadline to it, we can at least say, I'm just going to go, I'm going to push on. And the closer the deadline gets, the more action you will take. The deadline is an amazing, amazing thing. And anybody who ever went to college and had to turn in an essay at a certain date knows what you can get done when a deadline is near. So that is the fifth pillar. You have all five of those in place, and some of them take no work on your part. Once you get social support, people do the work for you. So get those 5 pillars in place, and you can make incredible changes in your life in so many different ways. I mean, it's not just for fat loss. It's not just for making money. I actually quit swearing using the 5 pillars. It took me 6 days to overcome my habit of swearing, but now I do not swear anymore.
Nice. And what's interesting is that now you have a context for being able to make some of these changes, and these could be things that have affected you for a long time. I mean, but all of a sudden now with this framework, there's a something to gauge, something to measure against. And more importantly, if you are like me in some ways, you may have been practicing some of these things without even realizing it in a lot of ways. But now what he shared with us is in a way to be able to, know exactly where we're going and what we're doing and what might be missing. On a side note, we do have a membership site, especially as it relates to those who are trying to learn to raise capital for the first time or those who are looking to source deals. And they're always encouraging one another in ways. I'm there, but I don't feel like I'm needed most of the time to even comment or help individuals, because they're spurring each other on. When someone gets their first $500 check, they're like, yes, way to go. Or when someone's having trouble getting their offer closed or accepted, they're there. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's pretty funny you mentioned about husbands and their wife, because I recently I have the Fitbit little trainer. I don't know what you call those things, but and I've been doing it primarily in support of my wife and watching the things that we eat. Not just watching, I mean like logging it for the most part. And it's just interesting how that support makes a difference, for her in the real world. But I gotta remind, man, I don't know if you remember, but you gave me one of those like bison bars before we left. That was not good. You gotta
to hear that.
You gotta help me, man. I was like, whoa, that was, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to work on that one, when it comes to the planning of the meals, et cetera.
I'm sorry to hear that, my friend.
It's okay. But hey, I tried it. That's all I know. We'll get there. We'll make the changes that need to be made, for sure. And I can remember, one of my first incentives, and I know it's going to sound silly to most people, but you may have heard me say this before, is that there was a USB hard drive, just, one of those USB little flash drives. I said I wasn't going to purchase one until I earned self-employed income. That was like my first step. And then I did it again when there was an update for the iPhone. It was a $20 update. And I said I wasn't going to get the update for the iPhone until I earned $20. That's all I was after, was $20 of passive income. And I have never worked so hard for $20 in my entire life, to make that, to make those things happen. So this is all good stuff. And I love it because, would you say that anyone, if they want to, could do it? Or what's the limiting factor? What makes it impossible for someone to implement these 5?
I don't think there's anything that's impossible. A lot of people say they want things, and, like a lot of people say they want $1 million, or they say that they want to lose 20 pounds. But at the end of the day, it's just people saying that because they are saying it because other people want them to say it, or, they think society wants them to change. And they really must have that burning desire to make the transformation. And if that burning desire is missing, that true, accurate thinking is missing, then, they're putting all this energy into something that they don't care about. And, just an analogy or, a story from my life, we ran this transformation contest at Early to Rise, where there was a fat loss contest, there was a wealth building contest, and there was a, personal enrichment section. And I said I was going to learn how to play chess just because, I thought that sounded smart. And I lasted like 3 days because I didn't really care. And then what I actually cared about doing was starting to meditate. And because I had tried this a couple of times before, I've had anxiety in the past, and I really needed to overcome my anxiety. I wanted another weapon in my arsenal to overcome that. I knew that meditating was good for me. And so when I finally realized that what I really wanted and applied the 5 pillars, I succeeded, and I've meditated every day for almost 2 years now straight. I mean, I haven't missed a day, even if I've only been able to do 5 minutes. And so it's finding that thing that you really want to change, and not trying to change something because others, are peer pressuring you, or, you think that that's what society wants. You do have to align your priorities with the pillars, and that's when the breakthroughs come.
Got it. Now, you bring up something that I think is paramount, because you said something that I'm sure shocked some people, or they're thinking about it, because I think about it. You said things as it relates to the big deadline. You said, you're successful because there is a deadline. And in my head, I instantly go, okay, Craig, but there's never a deadline to being this level of discipline. When do I get to, quote unquote, relax and go have fun, or something of that nature? And then you talk about actually a goal you set but didn't achieve. And then you talk about a goal you set and did achieve. So how does one manage their, accomplishments when they actually do get something right, if we're always pushing towards the things that we want?
Well, I mean, we're always going to be pushing and trying to improve. But one thing that I find with people's goal setting is, and I made this mistake for years, and I finally actually just wisened up to it in the last, 18 months, was we set too many goals. And so when you set, 20, 30, 40 goals, you have that shotgun approach. And so I recommend limiting your goal setting to, 3 to 5 goals. And I actually set one major goal in 4 major categories of my life: health, wealth, social self, and personal enrichment. And when I limited it down to just those 4 goals, it really took a lot of pressure off me in terms of, now my days they don't have to be filled with a million things, because I'm only really focused on certain priorities, because you can't do everything. You can't be everything to everyone. You can't, be a 9-to-5 worker, a person who works from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. and also goes to every parent-teacher meeting and goes to every one of your kids' ball games, and also, stops by your neighbor's house with a cake every night because you bake it. You can't do that. It just is physically impossible. And so you have to back off and look at where you can make the most impact, and also what your number one priorities are in those, whether you're going to have 4 different areas. Like, I choose number one priority, because as my mentor, Mark Ford, a guy who has written many books and done a lot of great things and achieved great wealth in his life, said, when he focused on just one goal, he was able to change everything. It changed his, the way he viewed money, the way he viewed time, the way he viewed relationships, the way he viewed his work, the way he viewed his goal setting. It changed everything when you just have one laser focus. And that allows you to back off on so many other things. And therefore, again, it goes back to that structure. You will have more freedom in your life when you have more structure. You'll have more free time. I've been to Europe 4 times in the last 12 months because I have the freedom from the structure in my life, over there with you and also on some other vacations. So I think that it still is a paradox for a lot of people to get more disciplined because they think that is going to rob them of the freedom that they have, but it actually increases the freedom that you will have.
And I want to underscore that, and I want to say that for those of you who are thinking that way, that's definitely a common thought and a theme that runs through my head. So understand that I'm beginning to experience that paradox. And as I go through it, my kids are grateful. Everyone around me is grateful because I've been more present at many more things, at least mentally. If nothing else, I've been mentally there as opposed to in 12 different spots at the same time. So
yeah, Jim Rohn has a great quote, and a lot of people have said stuff similar to this, but I saw it attributed to Jim, and he said, "Wherever you are, be there." And I mean, that's at the end of the day, when you're around your family, be there, and don't be on your phone at the park. Right. If you can't leave that at work, it means you don't have the structure in your day.
Yeah, you got that right. So talk to us a little bit, if you will. When you actually do achieve something, or maybe you set out to achieve something, but yet either A, you realize, like you said with chess, that wasn't that big of a deal, or it's you just find yourself not hitting the benchmarks that you're hoping to hit. How do you process that without feeling overwhelmed and like, oh my God, it's all over, I can't do this? How do you coach people through that process?
Well, I actually have a personal rule that nothing matters. And so people need to understand that, whether you are going through something that is tough in your life, whether it's, personal struggles or whether it's financial struggles, first of all, everything will end. Everything good ends, everything bad ends. And you need to understand that. But none of it really matters because you can bounce back from anything. So there's so many second chances given to people, and you can, look at celebrities who have made big mistakes, or you can look at politicians who have made big mistakes, and they come back. And so whether you are struggling or not, you just need to really understand that there's nothing else you can do. You can't quit. If it's a priority to you, you just have to keep on pushing on, whether you've fallen off a cliff or whether you've had a dark day. So, we always just want to refocus and say, okay, this is what we learned today, but here's how we can be better tomorrow. And when we have those rules that I talked about for our life, it really is guiding, and it allows us to make fewer decisions. It allows us to be less stressed by the external events. I'm a really big fan of what's called Stoic philosophy, and an ancient Stoic philosopher named Epictetus and his books and his wisdom, just because, again, it really comes down to three things: control what you can, cope with what you can't, and concentrate on what counts. And I do hope that I'm answering your question in that no matter what happens, you can't control everything. You can only control your effort, and that you really should end up in a good place almost all the time.
Nice. So you started down this path when occasionally when I have to reset an intention or a goal, or we didn't hit what we want, and it sounds like you start focusing on what you possibly at least did right, or developing this sense of gratitude and celebration, so to speak, of these achievements. Could you talk to us a little bit about those things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not perfect, and I make a lot of mistakes. And so, for example, last week I was on a work trip in Las Vegas, and, there were nights we were out later than I wanted to be, eating more food than I wanted to eat, and, having a couple more drinks than I wanted to have. And you could sit there and really ruminate on that and feel all sad and embarrassed and ashamed. Or you could say, okay, what were the lessons learned? How can I do better with that next time? What, systems can I put in place? Because certain times sometimes you can not worry about it, but in certain cases you have to, be more focused because you have to go to work the next day or you have to do stuff. So you have to put systems in place to eliminate those temptations. And then also you need to look for the victories in the loss. So it might be that, well, at least I didn't have, at least I didn't order 2 desserts, or at least I didn't have so you always look for the victories. And anytime that you feel like you are going down in defeat, try and end with a victory, no matter how small it is. And, we have a lot of women in our fat loss programs who get upset when they have a couple cookies. But if we can say, well, just stop at even if you don't eat the last bite of that second cookie, that's a victory right there. And so I'm trying to think of an analogy for business. Even if you didn't make any sales today, you made all those calls, and so you are one step closer to yes. And so there's always a victory in every defeat, and that's really important for people to, again, it goes all the way back to seeing a bit of progress. You see a bit of progress, you have a bit of momentum, you have that motivation to come back and try again.
I agreed 1,000%. One of the things that I have been, focused on this particular year, especially, is just focusing on learning how to celebrate. I'm one of those individuals where if I achieve something, I'm like, cool, great, what's next? And I don't really stop to go, yes, that was worthy of celebration in any way, shape, or form. So I hear what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying. Now,
it's important to put in celebrations into your life. And so, for example, in our business, we had a really great month of July. And so we took our entire team out for paintball. And that was 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And I still have this giant yellow and purple bruise on me, actually, from where one of the girls shot me with a paintball in the shoulder. So, yeah, you do need to celebrate your victories. Always celebrate.
Well, nothing like being able to shoot the man in charge. So I'm sure that there was some joy there that will never be forgotten. Now, when you're going through those times, though, celebration or the doldrums, whatever you want to call them, you may know what to do. But I know for me, one of the things that has made a difference is having someone who's been there, someone who's done that, still be able to guide me through. Would you say that a mentor has been important for you in being able to achieve? Is it important for anyone when it comes to, or how important is it? Is it absolutely necessary? Is it kind of optional? Where does the role of a mentor play?
To me, it's been, irreplaceable. And I would say the biggest mistake I ever made in my life and my business career was not getting a mentor sooner than I did, because as soon as I did, my results in my business literally went exponential. And so, they do exactly what you say. They've been there and done that. They show you exactly what to do. So you could take 3 years to figure out something that they can show you in 3 hours. It's ridiculous not to have a mentor. And, in my business, in the fitness business, a mentor is simply a personal trainer who's helped other people. And when people go and they get a structured program from a personal trainer and they show them what to do and they have accountability and social support, and the trainer is smart and says, here's the deadline and here's the incentive, all of a sudden they get magical results. And so I absolutely encourage everybody to have a mentor because it will help you achieve everything. And even when I was starting meditation, my business partner has been doing this for many, many years. When I struggled with it at the start, he told me what to do, what to focus on, little tips. And it's only through his guidance that I've been able to stick with it at the start when it was really tough. And he also gave me that accountability. I just can't say enough about having a mentor because I've just experienced it so many times that I went from okay results or no results to amazing results simply by having somebody show you the way.
Now, well, okay, that makes sense for the beginner, but what about the person who's been doing something a while? Do they still need a mentor?
Absolutely, because there's, unless that they've stopped trying to achieve anything. I mean, it's the same reason that Tiger Woods has a swing coach and, that the professional sports teams have coaches of any kind. Clearly, there needs to be somebody with the wisdom that is able to come and show you what to do because they have been there in that situation. And so there's always going to be somebody with more experience, and there's always going to be some great lessons that they're going to be able to teach you, but also to remind you of. And in many cases, sometimes we just need that kick in the butt from a mentor as well.
Yes, a swift kick indeed, and swift kick indeed. Now, I know that for many individuals, maybe they're meeting you for the first time here, maybe not, but they probably at this point are going, man, I would like to experience deeper levels and more of this. And I happen to know that you got an event coming up here really soon. Could you tell us two things? One, a little bit about the event, and most importantly, how we can find you ongoing.
Yeah, certainly. So the event is kind of specific for people that are interested in starting an internet business or getting more people to their website if they have one. And it's called the Online Info Blueprint Workshop. And so I've been actually helping people do what I do, which is make money online. I've been doing this since 2007, and we have lots and lots of success stories. And at this event, we're actually going to have Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank as well, and he's going to show you how to profit and productize your knowledge, which means taking all the information that's in your head and turning it into something that you can help people all around the world and make, whether it's a second income or whether you can go full time with this, as a lot of my clients have done. So it's onlineinfoblueprintworkshop.com, and it's down in Southern California in Orange County in November 2014. And for people that want to get more help with transformation and with time management, just improving sales skills, because we have a lot of articles on that as well, I encourage you to check out our website, earlytorise.com, and 12 rules. You'll go to my rules and you'll see the rules that guide me every day about when I check email and phone calls and exercise, and also my mindset and also my major priorities in life. So that will be helpful for people to see like how they can set just a couple of rules that will help them overcome some temptations or the things that put them off track. So that's the first article I'd recommend people read on that website. And again, we delivered really great content every day just by email with great writers and great contributors. I love to travel and I love to help people. So, we went and we met this summer at the blacksmith camp. So that was in Lithuania. And then after, had the energy of all those young kids and, being able to be mentors to them. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I love to do. And so, this weekend I was in Las Vegas for my mastermind group. And, so that was a combination of travel and helping. And I get a kick out of being able to travel the world, help people, and make money with my friends, which is what I do in my fitness business and with my mastermind group. And so I'm just a very, very lucky person. So I'm very grateful in my off time as well. And, reading from mentors, I call them virtual mentors. Anybody who's an author who I read from, I consider them a mentor. And so that's another thing that I like to do. And then I don't play as much hockey as I'd like to play, Jay, to be honest with you. But, this winter I'm going to try and put a little rink in my backyard and get back into the game. So playing sports and staying active is another thing that I like to do as well.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate your time today. I hope that you see a return on your investment here with the Cash Flow Diary audience.
I certainly did.
Awesome. Guys, you know what it's time to do. It's time to move at the speed of instruction. You've given you some very specific things to do. Online info, blueprintworkshop.com. Get over there. Early to rise. That's also a hint. Get up earlier so that you can win the day in the morning. It's been awesome talking with you one more time, and I look forward to talking to all of you again soon. Until next time.